Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a comparison video between these two Hanhart models here. Now I was lucky enough to be sent these from Felix over at Hanhart Watches in Germany. Absolute gentleman he was, very great to deal with, and let's put it this way, I was so impressed with these watches I've ended up buying one of them. Now, I'm not going to say which one yet. You'll have to stay tuned to the video to see which one I actually have spent my hard-earned money on. So anyway, let's talk about this model first. We'll call this the Flyback because this is the 417 ES Flyback Panda. And let's face it, it is a very cool looking watch. It's definitely kind of Hanhart have stuck with their true core, which is back when they used to supply watches for the Luftwaffe, and it looks fantastic. Over here we have the 417 1954, and this again is a real sort of like a true icon of a watch, and it's got a bit of legendary status all down to Mr. Stephen McQueen. Now this model is also just fantastic. We'll refer to this one as the 1954 model. So anyway, prices wise, in Germany these are a very similar price. It's only about, I think it's about £80 difference, at around about £1,788, I think £1,863, I believe. And both are available on either the bracelet or the bund strap. I believe there is also a single rivet version also available. I do like the fact that on their website they do give you options on, if you'd like to buy a strap with deployment clasp on there, or a simple buckle like we have featured here. So options are always good. Sizes wise, this one is coming in at 42 millimeters case size, a thickness of 13.7 mil, a lug to lug of 49.5, and the strap size on this is 21 millimeters, whereas this one here has stuck to its guns with its kind of original sizes from back in the day. We are talking a 39 millimeter case size, a thickness of 13.5 mil, so a fraction thinner, and a lug to lug of only 46 mil, and the bracelet size on this one is 20 millimeters. Now let's go back to the Flyback. The Flyback here has got that panda dial. So what's meant by that? All white with the black eyes there. And it is kind of very cool, very kind of, it's got a real clean look to it. And it does look good. You've got these lovely black syringe style hands with plenty of lume, and one thing I do like, you've also got the lume in the spine of the chrono seconds hand there. I think that really does look quite good. There is also lume in the hour markers, and to be fair, the lume is actually pretty good. Now I've actually had a lot more time with these, I can read the time all the way through the night with the lume. It's I've got no problem with that at all. Now what's meant by a Flyback chrono, if I start the chronograph here, nice click to it. Now, if I was suddenly to have to reset that for some reason, on most chronographs you go stop, reset, start. Yeah, perfectly straightforward. But a Flyback is a little bit special, as if I want to reset this but immediately start it off again, I just press this one button for reset. And there you go. It is a very cool feature. Does it have much practical use? No, of course it doesn't. It's got zero. But let's face it, we love that. I have had people saying, oh, well, how often do you use it? Who cares? It's got nothing to do with that. It is about coolness, and this has definitely got that cool appeal. Whereas the 1954 model here has got the, as we can see, we've got a complete black dial on this. We've got the syringe hands, but this time we have a white outline. We still have the loomed spine to the chrono second hand, as well as the hands and the actual markers here. Again, this I can read all the way through the night without a problem at all. The actual chrono, it's got a tiny bit more, I'd say a little bit more of a click to it than the Flyback. Now this hasn't got a Flyback, so you can't do anything there. You do have to stop, reset and start if you want to reset it. So it's perfectly good, no problem at all. The overall, the rest, we do have the standard Hanhart logo at the top there in their fancy script. 23 jewel. On this one, we've got anti-magnetic, shockproof there. And on this one, we have shockproof and Flyback on it there. So overall, they both look amazing. Both of these watches feature a sapphire crystal with AR coating, convexed on there. And it does look very, very cool. And the AR coating is actually pretty decent, I have to say. Now, I've showed a few of my friends these watches, and they didn't realise it does actually feature a rotating bezel. Because you look at it there, and it doesn't look like a rotating bezel at all. But you can actually move this, which is just, it's kind of a nice, smooth, but you do require a bit of force to it. But it is a lovely acting bezel there. I love they kept this kind of signature red at the top. Some of their models also feature a red chrono, and the story goes that back in the old days when the pilots were home with their loved ones, basically they would paint one of the chrono pushers with red nail varnish. And I love the story. Adds a real romance to the brand, which, you know, ultimately gives it history, romance, and helps promote sales. Let's face it, it is very, very cool. And the same on the 1954 model here. I would say actually the bezel is a fraction freer spinning on the 54, but like, as you can see, you still have to kind of apply pressure to it. But fortunately, this knurling on the outside here really allows you to do that with no problems at all. When it comes to the case, they are slightly different. We have a satinized finish. You can see reflections there. Satinized finish. A lovely bit of sculpting going down onto the lugs there. Overall, it is a very sharp, nicely finished case. I do like it. As you can see on this one, we have the satinized finish with that again. But I think it features the one advantage on this model. Even though this model is technically thicker, what actually makes this one look thinner, even though it isn't, is here. We have this undercut going on here, which is polished. And if you noticed, you know, it kind of does go in there, where on this model, it doesn't. And it actually makes it look a little bit chunkier, though that is purely an optical illusion, because it simply isn't. When it comes to the actual pushers and the crowns on both watches, they are both a non-screwed down crown. But both of these watches do feature 100 meters of water resistance. Now, I must say as well, the pushers do stand ever so proud on each watch. I would say they almost seem prouder on the smaller model there. They do tend to stick out quite a lot, and I would in some ways be a little bit careful, because it would possibly be quite easy to knock these, I think. But I simply do not care. They look great. We do have a signed crown. Now, the reason why it's not a screw down crown is they are both manual wind watches. So when I turn these models round, being that this one is on the bun strap, let me just pull this away. What we're greeted with there is an absolutely stunning looking movement. Now, they are slightly different. This one here features the Sellita AMT 5100M. Now, these are made by Sellita, but they are a more premium section of the manufacturing process. They have their own separate area, I believe, these guys. And it is a beautiful looking movement, Geneva striping. As you can see, there is no rotor on the back, and that is why this is a manually wound watch. So this watch features around about 58 hours of power reserve when fully wound. So you can get away with a couple of days of wearing this watch, and you shouldn't have any problems at all. 23 jewel, I say it's a lovely watch. When I put this one on the time graph, I think it was performing plus 4 seconds. Now, what's really cool on this is you have something called a column wheel. Now, the column wheel is, most chronographs tend to be cam operated. And to be fair, there is probably about the same amount of components for each. But a cam is slightly cheaper to produce, and it requires normally a little bit of a heavier push because you're rotating a whole cam, where on this you're not. If I press the pushers now, you'll see that column wheel, rotating round, as you can see there, because there's more machining goes on one of these, and as you can see, they finish it off and temper it blue, and it looks absolutely fantastic. I think it is a truly kind of lovely looking movement. Now, if I switch over to the 1954 model, we have a solid case back, but this features basically the same movement, but without the addition of the flyback function. But what this carries, being it's got a solid case back, underneath there is a soft iron core, which kind of gives it more protection against magnetic fields. In fact, I think it's around about 200 Gauss worth of added protection. And another thing this one has, even though they're both, now this is where I find it a bit strange. One thing I should say is I also put this one on time grapher, and it was pulling 0. The same 23 joules, the same 58 hours of power reserve or thereabouts. This one, for definite, has their shock protection system built into it, which basically acts like a slight suspension to the watch, and more of a rubber surround, I believe, so it gives it a little bit of shock protection. Now, on this model, I know it says that, but I don't know if that's a nod to the past and they simply mean the watch has got an Inca block suspension setting on the actual balance. Now, we take that for granted these days, but when these watches first came out, that wasn't so the case. What is meant by that is this red jewel here, but more specifically, I wonder if I can zoom in on that, the actual brass surround there, as that allows a balance to kind of give it a certain amount of suspension to prevent you from breaking a pivot if you were to drop the watch. Which back in the old days, was definitely a thing. I've had to make balance staffs, and trust me, they are incredibly thin and fragile, with pivots around about less than 100th of a millimeter. They are quite hard to turn by hand. I can personally vouch for that. So anyway, I know this has it, but I can't, on the spec, it doesn't say it has got that. So I would be intrigued if anyone knows that. Also, you cannot see it, being the display case back, you cannot see it at the sides here. So that could be a reason why. I'm not 100% sure. But overall, I say they are just fantastic watches. Now, the reason this one is famous is Steve McQueen actually wore one of these. And I know lots of people are going to say, yeah, but he wore a Tag Heuer Monaco. But no, he was paid, basically, that was marketing for the film. He actually spent his own money on one of these. To be fair, he used to wear it on the bun strap. And on several of his films and in his private life, you get to see him actually wearing this watch. If you're kind of too young to know who Steve McQueen was, he was like the action star, the kind of, car racing driver. He did everything. He was the cool dude back in the day. And so this was one of his, kind of watches he would wear, which was quite hard at. I wonder how he got hold of it, because originally it was only given to the Luftwaffe. So I think it ran between 54 and 63. So he would have had to have met someone who was willing to part with their watch. So, quite an interesting little thing there. So overall, I like the watch. But I must say, the bracelet on this one, it screws on here. It is an oyster style, all brushed, so very easy to bring back to life if you do mark it. The clasp is nice and simple. You got the Hanhart on there, but plastic is still on this. 3 levels of adjustment, and if I pull this, you do have a fancy little dive link extension. So that's how that one works. Now, which one do you actually think I opted for? Let me put them both on my wrist so you got an idea how they look. Let's zoom out here. Quick wrist check. I'm wearing my, this is hard to pronounce. I think it's Crawl Sombrero watch, which is actually very, very cool. I quite like that watch. And Bob, it's got the Moulet I can't remember which one that is actually now, but it's a Sportivo model, and that is a lovely compass model. Now, my wrist size is 7¼ inches. So if I put this one on, there you go. It does look quite cool. To be fair, though, I'm not quite sure about the button strap. I know that's heresy to saying that to, you know, any Hanhart aficionado. But one thing I would say is when you come to wind a watch, I find that the bund part on the back does get in the way somewhat. And that's just, you know, one of those things. Now, if I put on the other model, he says, so many lights, it's a bit hard to get around here. The 1954 model, here you go, that is it there. So which one did I go for? Well, it was actually the 1954 model. I love the watch. It feels really, really good on the wrist, I have to say. And let's face it, it is the real icon of the two watches. Don't get me wrong, the Flyback is also a true, it really does have the kind of history of the model. You can see straight away it's a Hanhart, but there's just something about this one. It's so comfortable on the wrist, and I absolutely love it. I even forewent the display case back and the slightly better movement, which for me is quite unusual because I do like a display case back on the watch, but this one is just fantastic. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave you with that one. Do you think I made the right decision, or would you have gone for the Flyback? As I say, they're pretty well the same price. So anyway, all the best, and most importantly, you stay safe out there, guys. Take care. Bye.